I think my heart is broken. Ah, we want her with Devon so bad, and I fear she will choose Harkness. So, anyways, welcome to the G. Louise book series. I'm Christina, Kristina, and I'm here with my pal to talk to you about And Dangerous to Know, Book 3 in the Rosalind Thorne Mystery by Darcie Wilde. And Casanova, why does everybody have to mark my computer with their scent? I have no idea. But Darcie, she's so consistent in her writing. She's so good in her writing. She's very thorough. She's just awesome with detail, but she's driving me bonkers because I believe that Rosalind belongs with Devon, because if she's a duchess, then she'll have a little more authority and backing in her investigations. But my fear is that she's going to end up with Harkness, the police guy, and do police stuff. But I don't want Devon's heart to be broken, and she needs to fess up. We put another obstacle in the way, and it's absurd. Okay, so the book starts off with Harkness is called to a pub by Sir David Royce. He's the coroner, and he tells Harkness he believes a woman was poisoned. Her body was brought to Bow Street. She was forced, because there are bruises, to drink laudanum laced with alcohol. Her body was found on the property of Lord Melbourne's estate. What? Because of his wife's status and her mental illness and her daughter-in-law's mental illness, status of the people where the body was found was Sir David doesn't want to convene an official inquest. He wants Harkness to contact Rosalind Thorne to go undercover in the hot Thorne to investigate what happened. So, Lady Jersey, who is head of Almac, I made that paper and I forgot. Okay, so we have Harkness is the Bow Street guy. Devon is the Duke, her potential fiance. Lady Jersey is head of Almax. Sarah Villers are Lady Jersey. Alice and George Littlefield are newspaper reporters, and they're her best friend, Rosalind. Mrs. Kendrick is her maid, confidant companion. Okay. And Louisa is a cousin to Devon, and we'll get to her later. So, Mrs. Villers, Lady Jersey shows up and tells Rosalind that her Lady Melbourne is in need of her particular assistance. Some important papers regarding Lord Byron have gone missing. Apparently, Caroline Lamb had a very public affair with Lord Byron. Caroline Lamb is her daughter-in-law, Lady Melbourne's daughter-in-law. She's married to William. So apparently Caroline had a very public affair with Lord Byron, and when he broke things off to marry Anna Isabel Milbank, Lady Caroline refused to accept and even slit her wrists in protest. So, and it turns out that the Annie Isabella Milbank is Lady Milbourne's niece. So he stayed in the family with his stuff. So Rosalind goes with Lady Jersey to see Elizabeth Lamb, Viscountess Melbourne, who says she is not well with rheumatism and she believes she is dying. She is not worried about herself, but how the letters might affect her family if they are found out. Mr. Scopey Bernard Moore Davis supposedly is a confidant of Byron, and he says that Lord Byron has sent him back to England because Lord Byron lives in exile in Paris or someplace. He wants Davies. Davies says that Lord Byron sent him back to get the letters back from Mrs. Melbourne. He had every reason to believe that someone had meant to steal the letters, and because Davies was drunk, she turned down the request to give them to him. So it was decided to pursue the investigation. Rosalind will become Lady Melbourne's correspondence secretary. When she returned to her house to pack, Adam Harkness is waiting. After realizing their cases were intertwined, he tells her about the dead body. Rosalind decides that she will definitely take the case. Miss Melbourne gives Sarah a bank draft for £500, and Sarah can't believe it. I mean, Rosalind, bank draft. So then, from chapter 5, chapter 8 is told by the point of view of Harkness. He is worried that he asked Rosalind to go into a house where a murderer lives. He then goes to the morgue to examine the deceased lady's garments, and he finds one of the letters sewn into the lady's cap, her nightcap. So Rosalind goes to, and the letters sewn in the bonnet are just to Mrs. A. Lee at 6 Mile Bottom. So then Rosalind goes to see Alice and tells Alice about the missing letters. Apparently, according to gossip, Lady Melbourne and Byron were in love, and when Byron decided it was time to marry, he let Lady Melbourne choose the bride, her niece, the milkbank lady. She also lavishes Alice with a full meal of ham pie, parsley sauce, young greens, chocolate pudding, a jug of cider, and a flash of coffee. Well, she got that £500. She might as well spend it a little. The marriage between Byron and Milburn ended in divorce, which I thought was kind of odd because they usually didn't do those things way back when. And the wife left him with her child. Then Alice tells her about Miss George Lee being Augusta Byron's half-sister. And apparently the reason he was chased out of London is because the affair or incestual affair with his half-sister produced a child. When Rosalind arrives home, she finds a letter from Harkness telling her about the letter to Mrs. Lee. Chapter 12 is also from Harkness's point of view. Townsend, Harkness's boss, calls him into the office and wants Harkness to start thinking about his future and moving up the ranks. And moving up the ranks requires that he hobnob with the Thorne. I can't even say it right. So he tells Harkness that he's got this other thing to do with the king, and he wants Harkness to take his invitation to Lord Castlemaine's ball that he's hosting for his cousin. It's like an engagement party. So Harkness tries to back out, but Townsend tells him that they depend on Parliament for their funding, and he insists that Harkness give up the case that Sir David had gave him of the dead woman, and that he attend to some street thieves, and that Harkness may choose someone to pursue the matter in his name. So instead of choosing the guy that Townsend wants, he chooses Gautier, one of his pals. So when Rosalind arrives at the Melbourne house, she sees a doctor who has been called to attend Lady Caroline, who's supposedly a little screwy, and her son Augustus, who have taken ill. She is left in the sitting room to wait, and Rosalind is caught by Caroline, the screwy one, searching through the desk drawers. And Caroline is under the influence of laudanum, and she's a little screwy. And after some back and forth conversation, Lady Caroline leaves the room, but she tells Rosalind that her mother-in-law lies a lot. Then the doctor comes to find her, Dr. Philip Billingham, and his nurse was Mrs. Olander, was his nurse. And Lady Bowen shows up. She's very unhappy to see all these people, Carolyn, the son, and the doctor, all in her private quarters. And then Carolyn hints on the way out that someone is missing. Mrs. Melbourne holds a tea that Rosalind attends. Miss Candlewood, Lady Jersey, and Miss Kendricks, who is Rosalind's housekeeper, companion, confidant. She has Mrs. Kendricks to interrupt the little tete-a-tete and call her away to speak to the doctor, so it works. And she tells the doctor that he needs to go to Bow Street to identify this possible lady that could have been his nurse. So when she returns to the parlor, she is introduced to Scope Burnmore Davies. He had bloodshot eyes, dark circles under his eyes. Mr. Davies bluntly asks Lady Melbourne if she still has the letters. Rosalind picks up just a random stack of letters and says, "Here are the letters." Davis sees this as a trap, because if he takes the letters, then he will see that they are false and he'll be called out. That he doesn't believe her, that he thinks she was lying. But if he doesn't take them, then it's like he believes her, but he sees through the whole thing. So then Rosalind and Lady Melbourne turn the tables as Davies asking, if it was Byron who sent you, who put the idea in Lord Byron's head that these letters were missing? Who said they were missing to begin with? So Lady Melbourne's son, William, interrupts and questions are not answered as Davies leaves with the sum. Lady Melbourne asks why they leave if Rosalind was happy with the results of her gamble. Rosalind says no, because she was pretty sure Davies didn't believe her. And he didn't. Samson Gautier, Harkness's replacement, meets with Dr. Bellingham. He identifies the deceased woman as his nurse, Miss Judith Oslander. When Gautier shows one of the letters to the doctor, he gets very upset and is assaulted by Gautier's questions. He later tells Gautier that he witnessed an encounter between his nurse, Miss Auslander, and the Lady Caroline was gripping her wrist, and she saw Lady Caroline press a package into Miss Auslander's hands, and he believes that Lady Caroline paid Miss Auslander to take the package to Henry Colburn, the publisher, to have the letters published. Sanderson Fox, her club sauce, Rosalind's club sauce, gives her some gossip. Then he tells Rosalind about Davies and that he gambles and that Byron is in debt and he does owe money to Davies, who even needs money worse. So Ambrose Fullerton goes to see William Lamb at White's and tells Lamb he is friends with Davies, and Fullerton warns Lamb about Rosalind being a spy. Mrs. Kendrick says later tells Rosalind that the whole house believes Lady Melbourne is dying. The staff know about the body found. Samson Goodyear writes Rosalind and tells her that the doctor positively identified the lady as the nurse and that she disappeared a week before her body was found. Rosalind wants Mrs. Kendrick to talk to Mrs. Waybourne's nurse, lady's maid. She later meets with Louisa, Devon's niece, or cousin, and his aunt, Mrs. Showell, and Winterbourne. He invites her to Winterbourne House to possibly start a courtship, and she tells him she will leave an answer for him after the case is complete. And again, I have always said that I believe that she belongs with Devon. And I'm a little upset about the obstacle that Miss Wilde puts at the end to their relationship. like I said, I believe that she belongs with Devon, because then she'll be a duchess and no one can question her and her investigations. But I have a feeling that she's going to end up with Harkness so they can do police work together. But I would rather her end up with Devon. But like I said, Darcie throws in another obstacle at the end of the book, and I was very upset about the obstacle. So I can't wait to get to the next book to see it play out. And if it plays out, she could drag this out for books. So Alice comes and interrupts her for while she's having this private moment with Devon, and because Harkness has showed up at the ball. Harkness informs her that Townsend has expressed reservations about him looking into Judith Ostlander's death. She tells Harkness to talk with Sandra Fox about Scope Burness Davies. Townsend grills Gautier about the nurse, and Gautier tells him she was poisoned by a laudanum mixed with brandy. When Rosalind returns to her house at 3 a.m., she finds Lady Caroline up and writing. And when Rosalind tells her the nurse was murdered, Caroline is very thankful. Caroline says the nurse was a spy for her mother-in-law. And Caroline says she saw the nurse die out in the front lawn. Harkness meets with Gautier again and tells him what Townsend said. Dr. Bellingham tells Rosalind she should leave the house. Dr. Bellingham gives Rosalind the address where the nurse lived. The housekeeper at Claridge overhears the doctor and Rosalind talking. So she too is not happy with the situation. Scoop Burnmore Davies was given access to was trying to gain access to the nurse's room when Rosalind, Gautier, and Harkness show up, and the landlady would not let them in. So Rosalind goes up to her and pretends to be a long-lost relative of the nurse and demands that the nurse said she could come and stay with her for a few days. So she pays the nurse's rent for the month, and the landlord lady lets her in. And then Gautier, Harkness, and Davies meet at one of the public saloons. And they question Davies about Judith Ostlander. He claims to be acting under Byron's wishes. They ask him about the fact that Byron owes him money. He said Byron wants to return to England, but the letters must be found first and destroyed to avoid scandal. What's the matter, Casanova? 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 What's the matter? Come here. What's the matter? What you doing? Come here. Come here. Pick a side. So, where was I? Come here. You want to say hi? No? Okay. So he says that Byron wants the letters destroyed before he can return to England. Well, obviously, if they're about incest, an incestuous relationship that produced a child, he doesn't want them in England. Rosalind searches the nurse's room and she finds the letters sewn in the middle of a pillow. William Lamb goes to visit Lady Jersey and gets the scoop from her. And then he sees Townsend. He seeks out Townsend at the club and also gives Townsend an earful. Now, and he gives her an earful about Rosalind be a spy for Bow Street on his mom. So see, again, this is where I think if she was a duchess, all right, she might not be going out as a companion, but she would still have a little more clout, is what I'm saying. And I think I want her to be happy with Devon. I just want her to be happy with Devon. Then she gets back to the house, and Mrs. Kendrick attempts to have this conversation with Miss Claridge, who tells her that she witnessed Caroline burning the nurse's coat and gloves, because see, the body was found without a coat. Rosalind decides to follow her friend George Littlefield because he's been avoiding his sister a lot lately. And it turns out George has a girlfriend. So they get into it, and George says, well, I will tell Alice about Hannah if you settle things with Devon and get into a relationship with him. So to find out who the real killer is, you will have to read the book to find out what that last obstacle that I really, 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 really hate, but I know it's there, and I'm pretty sure that if she actually told Devon, it would be okay, but she's gonna just worry and worry. Oh, I can't tell you why. I've got personal reasons. And he's gotten past her family the first time. He could get past them again, but I don't know why she continues to just, I hate it when authors throw in additional obstacles. It just drives me bonkers. It's been 3 books. We should get going here. But I know one author that kept it out 20 books. So we'll see what happens. But I really need you to like and subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know I'm doing a good job. Let me know if you like the book. Check it out. The whodunit is like right in front of your face, the whole book. There are some books that are like the whodunit pops in and says hello every once in a while and leaves. But this whodunit is a consistent character through the entire book. Like, it hits you in the face when it all comes out. I really would like to know what the rest of those letters said. But anyways, please check it out. And Dangerous to Know, Book 3 in the Rosalind Thorne Mystery by Darcie Wilde. And please hit the like and subscribe and let me know I'm doing a good job. Me with my no special effects, no special lighting. Well, actually, horrible lighting, horrible audio. But please show me your support and hit that like and subscribe. Thank you.